Hey everybody, so today I want to try to get this right. Alright everybody, so today on some of my wisdom drops, I have been thinking about this. I have seen how it applies, but this has been one of like my really deep dives into it. But I've been thinking about light. What is light? How does it function? Why is it important? When you look at a lot of different religious texts, it always talks about light. When you study the scientific approach to light, you start to see and realize that the human body it is connected. It's connected in a major way that we may not fully understand. So I'm gonna go ahead and dive a little deeper into it and figure some things out about it. But first thing I want to talk about is the dual nature of light. And when I say the dual nature of light, I'm talking about the wave and wave particles, right? So with light, you have wave and particle light, which is very mysterious. It's something that is not fully understood, no matter how much people have observed, this phenomenon. It moves like a wave. It's fluid, it's expansive, it's rippling, right? But yet, when you observe light, it behaves like a particle, a photon, something singular, defined point. And this is known as the wave particle duality. The scientific paradox of it still somehow connects spiritually, right? It's like a spiritual mirror. That's how I'm seeing it. Um, because when you think about it, we are literally the same. We are bodies, particles living in a material world. You'll often hear people talk about and say, "Oh, I'm a physical body having a spiritual experience." Kind of same concept, right? But then you also have to take into consideration that we're also waves, energy, frequency, emotion, the soul. We are human and divine, solid in spirit, visible and vibrating. So the light outside of us is simply reflecting the light within us. So then that takes me into like the light spectrum, which is the seen and unseen versions of things. Now, here's something even deeper. What we call visible light is literally only a tiny fraction of what actually exists. So the electromagnetic spectrum spans far beyond what the human eye can detect. So from infrared to ultraviolet, from radio waves to gamma rays, most of the light that is around us is invisible, yet it's still real, still present, still impacting, right? So, just like consciousness, we only see a sliver of what's really happening. We see behavior, we see the expression, we see outcomes. But beneath that, there's emotion, there's memory, there's intention and ancestry. And when you think about it, the unseen realm begins to shape everything. And you think about, like I said before, you think about emotions, how a lot of people are driven off of emotion and how they make decisions from emotions. And sometimes you know their emotions and sometimes you don't. But a lot of the way our life is constructed is based off of like the unseen realm of everything. Excuse me. So just because you can't see a frequency, it doesn't mean it's not there. It doesn't mean that it's actively creating something, right? So just because you can't measure the soul doesn't mean that the soul doesn't exist. It doesn't mean that it's not guiding you. The visible spectrum represents our awareness. The invisible represents the potential, the unknown, the divine mystery that's still unfolding. So every time you meditate, every time you dream or imagine or pray, you're tuning into light, something beyond the limits of the eyes. And the eyes can be known as deceptive or deceiving, right? So then it makes me think about how science proves what mystics have always known, and they're just now getting caught up with what the mystics have been teaching and saying. We are made of light. We are bathed in light, frequencies seen and unseen. And the more aware we become, the more of that light we begin to embody. So then I'm thinking, and it takes me into the whole light in the body, the divine intelligence within us, right? The scientific insight, the scientific approach to this. So you think about and you see light, how it enters the skin, how the cells use it, the pineal gland, all of these things are a part of it, all right, of how we transmute and transmit energy and light. So now that we've explored the light as waves and particles, seen and unseen, I really want to go back to that whole question of how does light function? How light lives inside of us? How it's not like this poetic mosaic field. It's really biological, it's energetic, and it is sacred. You think about the body and the inner lights. So there's this thing inside of us called the biophotons, right? And the cells emit biophotons ultra weak, which is ultra really small light particles. They're not super strong. And science has discovered that every living thing glows. Even the human eye can't perceive it, but it's still glowing. So these photons are most concentrated in the brain or the heart. They're not just byproducts, they're messengers. They're transmitting information between cells. Light is how the body communicates, how it repairs, how it remembers. You have to figure it out like you are literally a field of light that is in constant dialogue with the cosmos. Like, think about that. You are a field of light that is in constant dialogue with the cosmos. The pineal gland is the light receiver and is the transmitter. So oftentimes you hear so many people talk about the pineal gland, but I don't think that we have a full understanding of what the pineal gland really does. Some of this like ancient teaching is so in your face, but sometimes it seems like we're unaware of it, right? So at the center of the brain is the tiny pine cone structure that everybody talks about, which is known as the pineal gland. And is known in spiritual tradition as the seat of the soul. The pineal gland is light sensitive. It regulates melatonin, which is your sleep cycles, and your circadian rhythm. But it also responds to spiritual light, to intuition, to dreams, your third eye, your prayers, right? So when you're meditating, when you're praying, or when you're sitting in sunlight, right, you're stimulating the pineal gland. And a lot of people's pineal gland is calcified, and there are ways to, uncalcify. But we'll talk about it later. But anyway, the pineal gland is awakening, not just for rest, but for revelation. It's the internal storage designed to perceive frequencies beyond the five senses. So then you go into the sunlight and the circadian wisdom of the sunlight. The sun does more than just warms us or warms the earth. It literally is telling your body when to wake up, when to heal, and when to align. So getting out in early morning light, it boosts the serotonin. And the serotonin is known as the joy chemical. And then at evening light, where the sun is getting ready to go down, it helps release the melatonin, which is your rest hormone. And without proper light, your mind, your mood, your metabolism, it can really suffer. So this lets us know we need light to thrive physically, mentally, spiritually. So it's so important when we see children always inside or they're not engaged in sunlight, they're on video games, or even adults, whatever. It's really important that they get outside, because this is not just affecting their physical body, but it's also affecting their mental and emotional states. We have to realize there's a purpose for everything, and knowing the purpose and knowing how to harmonize with it, but especially light. Oftentimes people sleep with lights on, and that's like one of the worst things we could do. But anyway, I digress. So let's get back to walking outside. So when you walk outside and you let the sun kiss your skin, you're not just soaking up vitamin D. You're actually charging your soul's battery. You're syncing with divine clock of nature. The sun, it rises and it sets at certain times for a reason. And then it has you go into the thought of the aura field, the light field. So beyond the body, there is this aura, an electromagnetic field, that extends around you, around me. And it's like a luminous cloud. So certain photographers or cameras can actually pick up on these energies, and they've been studied for a while now. And it shows how the aura field responds, how it responds to emotions, how it responds to thoughts and the intentions that you're putting out. So when you're in alignment and your field is bright, is radiant, is magnetic, when you're burdened with fear or grief or trauma, your light dims. Healing is how you clear that field. Awareness is how you protect it. Okay? Remember that. Healing is how you clear the field, but awareness is how you protect it. Love is how you expand it, because love is the highest frequency of them all. So then it makes me want to go into the spiritual teachings, right? So the question at hand is, if we are already light, why do we forget? What dims us? What disconnects us from our radiance? And most importantly, how do we return to the light we were always meant to, embody to be? I don't know if I should make this into a second podcast or if I could just keep going with it, because the journey is so important. The understanding is so important. At least for me, it is. So the spiritual return to radiance, right? It's a sacred remembering of who we are and why light is our true home. So if we are already made of light, the question still remains, why do we forget? What dims our radiance? What veils our divine illumination? And the answer is simple and sacred. Separation. Spiritual teachings across culture speak about light as truth. The light is the truth in the way. All great spiritual traditions speak of light as truth. So you look in the Bible, and there's a scripture that says, "You are the light of the world." And if you look at Hinduism, it's the divine light in the Jyoti. Jyoti is the divine light, ever present in the soul. And Buddhism, the enlightened one, becomes free of illusion. And then in Kemet, the Ka and the Ba, which is the spiritual aspects of the self, merging to form a more luminous being. You can even go into the Gnostic and Sufi traditions. The soul returns is described as a journey through layers of light, back to source to become light. And to become light is to remember our essence and shed the layers that keep us dimmed. So I asked before, what dims our light? It's trauma, it's shame, it's fear, it's disconnecting from yourself in source. These become clouds around the soul. But here's the truth: the light never leaves you, it only gets covered. And this is just like Adam and Eve when they're in the garden and they have this belief when God tells them that they shouldn't eat from the tree, and they eat from the tree and they believe that they're separate, so then they go and clothe themselves. And the clothes could be seen as the illusion of separation, right? Because before, naked, they entered into the world, and then all of a sudden, when they start to cover themselves, a lot of different things begin to happen, and the fall of man begins to occur, right? And that's for another topic as well. But here's the truth: the light never leaves you, it only gets covered, and it is your job to go find your light, to uncover it, to remember it. Okay? Healing is the path to light. Every time you forgive, every time you speak your truth, every time you sit with your pain and you can breathe through it, you're clearing a layer, you're cleansing the field, and you're beginning to raise your frequency. Healing isn't just about feeling better, it's about returning to your original vibration, which simply is pure light. You don't have to become something new. You just have to remember what you are. Sounds simple, often not, but that is the trick of it all. Remembering who you are at your original frequency: love, light. So then light as a frequency, light as mission in this life. Love your light is your frequency. It's what you carry into a room without speaking. It's the feeling people remember after you have left the room. When you can embody light, you begin to heal yourself. You begin to elevate those around you. You even give silent permission for people to shine. There is a beautiful quote by Marianne Williamson that speaks to this, right? This is how consciousness evolves. One lit soul becomes a flame for others. One healed spirit becomes a lighthouse. One remembering sparks 1,000 awakenings. There used to be this song when I went to church. It said, it only takes one spark to get the fire going, and then all of those around would warm up to its glowing. It's so simple, but it's so true. The moment that you begin to shine authentically in your original frequency, you then remind others who are around you that they too have the capability and that they too can remember their light, remember who they are. It's just a trigger. It's a triggering effect, and it's a beautiful awakening. But remember, we don't just reflect light, we also can generate it. The deeper truth is this: you are not just a mirror of light, you are a generator of it. Every act of love, every act of kindness, right? Every creative spark, every quiet moment of clarity, all it does is adds more light to the field of humanity. We don't just return to light, we become the light that guides others home. And that is what we're all here to do: trigger others into their own remembrance, into their own awakening. I can go on and on about light, but I'm not going to. Just remember this: You are the living light of divine remembrance. Your body is a temple, your mind is a transmitter, and your soul is eternal, radiant, and is rising. So as you heal and as you shine, as I shine, we are awakening the world. You are light becoming more of yourself. Remember that. It's so important. It is time for us to wake up. And as we begin to wake up, others will too. And the world can get back to its amazing frequency, its original frequency, which is love. Well, I love you guys, and I would love to hear from you guys. Any dialogue, um any questions or any comments. Like, I love a good conversation about topics like this, and I'm just looking for my community. That's people that I can love on and people that can love on me. I've met some wonderful people already, and I'm excited to keep on with the process. But if you could like and subscribe as always, and I appreciate you.